see, the thing with me at this point in my life is that I have an extremely low tolerance for ghetto, ratchet, and dysfunctional behavior. Now, I'm not saying that I lack empathy, right? I understand that people going through things, and in many cases, people are acting out on their traumas, those things that are unresolved within their lives. I completely get that. People are going through things. However, when those things are used as an excuse to be an asshole or, in worst case situation, to be an absolutely destructive force in other people's lives, I have no tolerance for it. I am not I'm not willing, nor am I even able to at this point stay in relationship with individuals who exhibit some of these dysfunctional relationships. For example, if somebody is making the conscious choice to perpetually stay in toxic and dysfunctional relationships, right? Like I have a best friend and they always find themselves in a narcissistic relationship. They always find themselves in some sort of drama, some sort of chaos, this and that's going on with their baby mama, etc. I can't be around that person for too long until I will just completely cut that relationship off. It is really that simple with me. Because if you're coming to me with your dysfunction, if you're coming to me with your drama, I assume that you're looking for advice. I assume that you're looking for a solution, that you want to better your situation. The moment I find out that you are simply looking for a sounding board, you're looking for somebody to dump your trash on, an emotional tampon of sorts, I'm done. I'm over it. I don't want to be associated with that. And that's, again, a best case situation, right? In the worst case is somebody who's going to literally put your life in jeopardy. And there's more people like this than you would imagine. People who you can be along for the ride with, and all of a sudden, they get stopped by the police, they got something in the trunk, and you end up as an accomplice. They have a rap sheet you didn't even quote unquote know about, but you saw the red flags and you saw how they were moving, but you felt like you owed them something. I am done with the ghetto mentality. I have zero patience. I am not willing to give an iota of energy to individuals who are creating their own dysfunctional lives. And again, I empathize towards the children who are in situations where they simply cannot help it, or there is an authority figure that is creating a certain environment or dynamic within their own lives. I empathize with them. I empathize with somebody who is going through a hard time in life or looking to make a transition, right? They want to do what's best, but sometimes they slip, they fall, but they do get up. They don't make excuses for themselves. They don't blame the rest of the world for where they are. Instead, it's like when I was getting out of my addiction, I came to realize that the only people that make it out of this are the ones who take ownership of it, who say that this is me. This is what I'm choosing to do. I am destroying my life by perpetuating this addiction. And if I continue to go down this road, it's going to mean more destruction. So I have to make a decision. Nobody else can make that choice for me. Nobody. And the people who almost never make it out are the ones who are finding their own dysfunction, or at least the fault of their own dysfunctional behavior, their own destructive or self-destructive behavior. They're pinning it on somebody else or something else. Well, if it wasn't for my mama, I wouldn't be this way. If it wasn't for my ex, my spouse, if it wasn't for, my childhood, if it wasn't for the government and the system, there's always somebody or something to blame for these type of individuals. And 9 times out of 8, that was not a typo. 9 times out of 8, that sort of individual is going to continue to perpetuate that very same behavior. And to those people, I have no patience for. The ghetto is a mentality, folks. We look at environments, and when you look at, let's say, the projects or something like that, right? Without humans there, it is simply a collective of buildings, right? As soon as you have a group of individuals move into that environment, the environment becomes a reflection of what those people's mentalities are. That's why the hood oftentimes is, these types of people, they congregate. They attract. One person who grows up in a trailer park is likely to attract another who is in that trailer park mentality. Maybe not the housing structure, but the mentality of, let's say, the hillbilly mentality or whatever it may be, right? Whatever you may call it. These two individuals seem to always find themselves together no matter where they go, so long as they don't get that identity or that mentality up out of them. When an individual is given over to the ghetto mentality, they will always find themselves with other ghetto individuals in proximity and in ghetto-ass situations. And the police, that's too good. Police just affirmed it right now. Y'all heard the sirens, or maybe you didn't, but I did, and I can confirm. There's always going to be something going on with an individual that is given over to the ghetto mentality. And so when it comes to me, I found myself latching onto some of these mentalities at certain points in my life. I not only got on the dope, but started selling it, right? I was trying to mimic or at least I was trying to project this image to the world that I was street, that I was hood, that I was a thug in order to gain a sense of validation, in order to be seen as a part of the in crowd. So I'm just as guilty. That's why I say I empathize with somebody who's looking to make a change. You find yourself on the wrong trajectory and you're making these self-destructive decisions and you are self-sabotaging. There is always going to be an opportunity for you to get out of those behaviors. But there are some individuals who do not want to change. And I know that is so difficult for most of us to fathom because we think to ourselves, surely everybody wants what is best. But I say to you, aren't there things in your life that you may desire, but you don't desire them enough to actually do something about it? Like I remember Eric Thomas, one of the greatest motivational speakers of all time. Shout out to the hip hop preacher. And he basically said, at a certain point in his life, he said, I don't want a six pack enough to do what is necessary. He said, I love brownies and stuff like that too much to actually want a six pack. So everybody wants a, toned physique. Everybody wants to be in a beautiful body. Everybody wants to be fit. But how many people are willing to make the decisions necessary in order to get into that body? It's not an accident. It doesn't just happen. Right? Well, I just woke up one day and, 150 pounds melted off of me and now I'm ripped. No. There are decisions that are made that then lead to that outcome. And so when you have individuals who are not willing to make different choices, they're not willing to change their own surrounding or, more importantly, change their inner environment, because it really starts there. They're not willing to change their belief system, their mindset. They continue to feed and indulge upon the very same dysfunctional and toxic messaging, propaganda, programming. Right? They stay around the same people or talking about the same mess. They're listening to the same music, watching the same series, this, that, and the third, wasting away their lives, wasting away their time. These people on the surface may seem as if they are helpless, destitute, and they are victims to circumstance. When you take a closer look, they are creating their own misery. Suffering is a personal creation. That sounds crazy, don't it? Pain can come from external factors, right? You may hit your arm and feel a sense of pain, but suffering is mental. Suffering is created through the stories that we keep and we continue to repeat to ourselves. Woe is me. Life is so terrible. Everything happens to me. I can't ever get ahead. The low man can't get ahead. These rich bastards doing X. That type of mentality will keep you perpetually stuck, and that stuckness is the suffering that you experience. Even when you suffer, when you have a loss, there's a difference between grieving. To grieve is a process of letting go, of shedding something. When you create suffering out of it, you attach to something, you are perpetuating the pain that could otherwise melt away, melt off of you in a natural way. You may never forget, and you may forever have, a sense of yourself that feels as if it is missing. But if you do not accept the reality of a loss, whether it's a relationship, intimate relationship, or, it's somebody that is no longer with us, that has transitioned, you can carry a piece of that person with you. You can feel amiss for that individual without creating the unnecessary suffering. And the reason I bring that kind of analogy is to say there are individuals who They might be in hard situations, circumstances, but they don't allow themselves to be in perpetual suffering, right? They don't create misery upon misery. They don't look to perpetuate it. They want to change their situation. And I believe that God aids those, like God helps those who help themselves, right? All of the universe will come together, galvanize behind your cause if you are willing to change. That's how God, or Most High, has created this thing we call life. When you are willing to take the first step, the second step is taken for you. I've seen this play out infinitum times. People who have been in seemingly dire situations just decide to change. And it's as if these things are introduced into their lives, the perfect people, the perfect situation, the opportunity shows up out of nowhere. You know, that's why it's easy to fall into this sort of manifestation mentality that I was very deeply entrenched in, is just simply to say, when you start to move, then life starts to move with you. When you start to make different decisions, life starts to unfold in that direction. It's not to say everything's going to be honky-dory and perfect, right? We need some of that adversity to create character. We need some of those, conflicts or challenges to mold and craft our character so we can actually sustain the thing that we're asking for. But when you are dealing with those who are given over to this victim mentality, because that is at the core of a ghetto mentality. It doesn't start with the ratchetness. It doesn't start with, the 17-inch eyelashes. It doesn't start off with the sagging of the pants. It doesn't start there. Where it starts is a victim's mentality. Not to say that you have not been victimized, but it is to say that you latch onto this idea that the world is doing me an injustice, that I am owed something because life is simply happening to me, as opposed to looking at the reality of your situation and saying, okay, there may be a percentage of the things in my life that were truly out of my control that have, created certain conditions. But almost every other thing, more than 90% of the things that are taking place in our lives are a direct result of what we are doing or not doing, the beliefs that we engage with, the individuals that we put ourselves around. Some people will complain every single day about a job they hate but never leave the job, and they will blame people. And I'm an equal opportunist asshole. Everybody can get it. Okay? Left, right, religious, non-religious, etc. The victim mentality can meet you anywhere, Democrat and Republican, Christian and secular. You understand me? Anybody can fall into it. So anytime I hear somebody talking about how, the system is this and they had to do this and they have no choice but to do that, most of these people who talk about I'm so broke and it's everybody else's fault, I look into their expenses, even just peek into their lives, and I see that they're buying things that they don't need in order to be validated by the people around them, or just to get a little bit of attention, even if it's negative attention, right? Just to get a rise out of somebody, right? Somebody will leave the hood and the first thing they do is go and buy a car to drive back in the hood to show somebody. I have no time for that. I have no time for that mentality. I have no time for grown individuals who move in that way, because my energy and time is scarce. The attention that I have to give is limited in a day. It is a scarce resource. So if I'm giving energy to your drama and your conflicts, I have that much less time to give to solution. I have that much less time to give into building what I got to build for me, my family, and the greater community, which is y'all. Imagine if I spent all day long with folks who are just giving over to that ghetto mentality, just not doing nothing with their lives in the very same hood, in the very same place, in the very same job for the next 20 years. They haven't moved or things have gotten worse. Now their waistline has gotten big. The only thing that has changed in their life is the size of their pants. And not this way in, that way out. Imagine if I spent all my time investing into those, trying to speak into those people's lives, time and time, day in, day out. I would never be able to get to the thing that is actually going to help the most amount of people, which is what I'm doing right here. God honest truth. I would never get to it because there's too many people with too many problems on a daily basis. And I cut those relationships out of my life unapologetically. Oh, but that's not the Christian thing. That's not the God. That's not the, oh, but you need to love. No, I can love you from a distance. I can love you from here and you over there. I can love you with proximity. My love for you is to say, I believe you will figure it out if you want to figure it out. If you want advice, go ahead and tap into the channel. You'll find it here. But the people who are serious are going to be taking the first steps anyway. The person who wants to be clean is the person who throws himself into rehab. Maybe they fall the first, second, third, 15th time, but they're looking to make that change themselves, to figure this thing out, and they will figure it out. And then there are those who have nothing left but an excuse to give, and they're looking for a shoulder to cry on and likely a pocket to borrow from. And those types of individuals, absolutely not. I avoid those people like the plague. I see somebody with more problems than solutions, I avoid them. No, thank you. I'm good. Go about your business. Simple as that. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure to stay tuned to the channel. You can subscribe if you're down for it. If you'd like to donate to the channel or show some love, you can click on my Buy Me a Coffee link. I don't drink coffee. I'll be honest with y'all. But I do drink a lot of tea. Right here, I got some ginger water. I drink a lot of warm water, etc. But if you want to show some love, you can send some dough over there or through Cash App, or just continue to show up for truth. Even if it's not my channel, I'm just glad that we at least have the opportunity to say things as they are. You know, non-manufactured messaging, I believe, is the future, because we're tired of the Holly weirdos. Simple. I appreciate you for tapping into this video, and if you would like to show some love to the channel, make sure to click the link below titled Buy Me a Coffee, or you can send a Cash App, or, you know, just keep showing up. I'll keep showing up, you keep showing up, and it'll be a beautiful thing. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light.